So Cracker Barrel just tried to rebrand, and in less than a week, it got dragged so hard down the internet that they had to crawl back to their old 70s logo. But this isn't just about a restaurant chain. This is about what happens when a billion-dollar brand confuses modernization with progress, kills the tradition people actually loved, and spends $700 million to alienate their most loyal customers. But here's the real question. Was this a design fail or a brand fail? Because what Cracker Barrel just did might have been the biggest identity crisis since Gap's infamous flop. In this episode of the Angry Designer podcast, we're going to break down exactly what happened, the mistakes made, and give you 10 reasons why not to update an old, outdated logo. Let's go!
All right.
Cheers, mon frere.
Cheers. Salud.
Oh, bourbon.
Bourbon. That's pretty good.
Now, on a good note, wow, that's sweet. Have you heard of a little company called Cracker Barrel?
No, never heard of them. What do they do?
Wow. Like, I have felt, we've had a few people reach out and be like, you guys got to cover this. You guys got to talk about it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, it's not really my place because it's such an American brand that you have to, other than passing through the States, you don't get the longevity, the long experience, the long brand connection. Right. Like, so I felt, but the thing is, it's like looking at how it's played out. Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm like, I guess we can. We're not, well, there's going to be shit we ain't going to touch. But I think that this is another one of these just like, cultural sensations that is just taken the whole, like how this whole rebrand thing. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Let's get on with it. Okay. But just as a reminder, Anger Management for Designer, our newsletter. Yes. Check it out. You're going to have a lot of this, a lot of that, but I really want to get into this.
Yes.
So, but you can still sign up for that on our website or in our social feed.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. Yay. Okay. So, needless to say, so it was a chain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
what did you think it was?
Yeah. So, clearly, I am not somebody who's qualified to talk about this brand because I thought it was cheese. Because up here we have Cracker Barrel cheese. That's and right. I swear it used to be some old dude sitting beside a barrel. I swear. So I couldn't figure out why everybody's making such a big deal about cheese. And needless to say, it turns out it's a fantastic, huge chain of restaurants that's been around forever.
I have eaten there once or twice.
You have, right?
Yes.
See, I never have, right? Yeah. But I think that's why the perspective was interesting looking in. Okay. But again, giant chain, they decided to modernize their brand. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And I think that's where this kind of all starts, right? So it was more than just a menu. It was more than just a logo. It was menus, interiors. I guess there was a campaign that was associated with this, right? And what they had done is they did start some of this transition, like 40 to 60 test stores.
Yes.
Okay. Or test restaurants. And, oddly enough, I mean, they said they saw an improvement of 1% at that time. This brand overhaul cost $700 million.
Holy shit.
So if a company's complaining that their profits are down, investing $700 million seems a little, but okay, I get it, right? That seems a little nuts. But I mean, it seems like they were chasing a modern demographic, right? It seems like most of their audience was, older people, but there was a lot to it, a lot to this brand, right? So it's a lot of family stuff, right? And needless to say, they did the store thing, and that was okay. It was nice and quiet.
Fine. You can get away with that,
right? Almost. You can, right? Because it was just okay. Updating the decor, like all that. But man, when they unleashed their new logo to the world, wow.
Yeah.
I'm talking like
Did the
this.
poop hit the fan or what?
Wow. I have seen, and I mean, at first I was like, what is the big deal? Because again, I'm not attached to the brand.
Right,
so I was only watching at a high level, right? I actually didn't sit there and study this, right? But we're talking the backlash, came from so many online, offline, CNN, freaking God, like political, like it was ridiculous.
Alan Peters talked about it.
On CNN,
on
our
CNN.
boy.
Yeah.
Right? But needless to say, like I was blown away, and it was to the point where they have just come out and been like, okay, we're going back to our old logo. Our clients have spoken and we're listening to you. Well, they obviously weren't listening enough because they went down this road, right?
Right.
So
was it a week?
Yeah,
less than a week.
Literally, it was a week.
Just a week.
It was incredible.
Wow.
I've never seen
like that.
so much. Right.
Wow.
And this reminds me of remember what the Gap did?
Yeah. Now, how long did that last?
A week.
Was it a week too?
It was a week too. And the Gap, for anybody who doesn't know, went from a similar brand experience, except I think the Gap's was so bad, it must have been a PR hoax. Like they must have did it on purpose, and they were like, we know we're gonna piss everybody off, and we're gonna release the ugliest freaking logo in the world. Had to have been.
But there was no shitstorm like there is with this one. You know what I
But
mean?
keep in mind that social wasn't around at that point, right? Because that was in like 2008, 2010. Yeah, so social wasn't around.
As big.
So there was a shitstorm because again, within a week, they reverted
did
it
change
back as
it.
well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
now it's like you can just sit back and laugh at this shitstorm. So I kind of figured that this would be really cool for us to discuss.
Yeah.
Not from a design perspective per se.
No.
We're going to talk about the logo design, of course, but I don't think that this was a mistake in logo design as so much maybe, a brand miscalculation.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
I think that's where the fuck up was in this
You're right.
situation.
You are absolutely right.
Because in all fairness, let's look at it. If I knew absolutely nothing about this brand, okay, I knew nothing, I would look and be like, okay, they took an old 70s logo, okay, and it went through blanding, unfortunately, okay, like the logo, the new logo went overly simplified. It became boring, right? The color, it went, from the fun brown that they had, like the 70s style brown and yellow to like a black and yellow, right? I don't mind the word mark. And what they did, okay, and I feel that was carried over pretty nicely from the old brand, okay, but and then they claim that that the barrel now has been replaced with the background or whatever the yellow is a barrel. It's kind of a funny looking barrel, but it looks more like a belt buckle to me.
Well, but it does, like looking at it from the side, it
resembles
looks like
a barrel.
I can see that.
But it seems like the biggest thing that pissed everybody off is they got rid of who is called Uncle Herschel.
Did you know that before?
Well, because I'm not with the brand. And this is why I'm saying
I had no idea what the story behind this was.
The story behind Uncle Herschel?
Yeah.
Oh, please tell me you know.
No. Like that he had a name and there was a reason for him.
There was a whole story between him and behind the brand, right? And again, they also dropped the tagline, the Old Country Store.
In the Old Country Store.
Which I thought was kind of good. Like I thought that was.
No.
But the thing is, by dropping, this Uncle Herschel completely, I think that was the deciding factor. I think that's what pissed everybody off.
Totally.
It seems like they were like,
wait a minute,
right? So, first and foremost, the logo went through, what we've seen so much the past decade is the blanding effect, okay? They stripped all the quirks out of the logo. They stripped out all the fun things that made it, authentic, that, gave it a little bit of heritage. Like they got rid of it. Like that was a bad thing.
Right.
Which unfortunately is creating for a really fucking bland landscape. Okay. In my opinion anyway, right? Everybody keeps chasing all this minimalistic bullshit. And what's happening is now there's this sameness epidemic everywhere. Everything looks the same.
Yeah.
And so, I think really affected where these people were, right?
Right.
Flat logos like this, there's no warmth to it.
You're right. Yes.
There's no personality. There's no, craft behind it.
There's not a story behind that new logo.
No.
Right?
Exactly.
And there's your fatal flaw, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And we've seen that with brands. We saw that happen with Eddie Bauer's
Eddie Bauer,
brand.
yes.
How sad was that? And ironically enough, when I went to West Edmonton Mall and I saw an Eddie Bauer store, they still had the original Eddie Bauer script logo over top of the store. They didn't have this new clean
take
loom.
it out, yeah.
It was on some of the merchandise and it was on a poster, so it became a little confusing if somebody doesn't know Eddie Bauer. But they'd walk through the store, be like, "Why is there two logos?" But regardless, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, by removing Herschel, they removed the personality behind this mark, which kind of turned out to be the essence of the whole thing, which kind of left nothing but a flat mark. Okay, and I think that was a big, so the blanding effect really fucked them over in this one. Okay, but again, that's from a design perspective.
Sure.
Okay. And again, that's, like I said, this isn't so much going to be about the design, but this is going to be about their approach and the brand, I guess the brand flop, in my opinion here, right?
Yes.
You know, like there is I'm obviously, and we've talked about this, right? You've got brand, you know, overhauls, right? And then you've got like brand evolution.
Yes.
Okay. And I've always been a fan of brand evolution. I've been a fan of branding in general.
Yeah.
And if your company has got any sort of cred, any sort of history, any sort of legacy, right? You need to tap into that legacy, right? Because that's how brands are built.
Yeah.
Okay. They're built on this kind of stuff. So for them, you know, to all of a sudden do an overhaul, okay, or in they're modernizing it, right? They have literally, like, you know, they've taken it to a whole new level that has completely erased anything that they have built.
Yes.
Okay. So again, what does that do, right? You know, they announced that it was going to be modernized. Well, imagine, you know, you're going to right. I'm going to modernize this store because you, my customer, who's been coming here and helped build this brand, you know, it needs to be modernized because you're outdated, sir. You should be hitting the grave anytime soon. Right?
It's not wrong, though. That is an old clientele.
Fair it is.
And they are not going to last forever.
Fair. But the funny thing is, and you know, looking at the numbers, okay, so from 2023 to 2024, their sales were the same. Okay, so there wasn't even a dip of less than 1%. Okay, so any company during these times would think, oh, that's all right.
That's good.
They lost profitability. Their profits were the other way. Now, they didn't say how, whether that was the food costs rising, maybe utilities, maybe staffing, you know, maybe a combination, maybe some really bad ad campaigns, maybe investing $700 million in a really shitty brand campaign. Just saying. Needless to say, their profits dropped, but not their overall sales. So even though, you know, maybe their market, their clientele might be dying in the future and they need to kind of tap into this, it wasn't yet. Okay, so, you know, and again, it seems like that was more operational costs than it was anything to do with the brand.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, you know, maybe their intentions were in the wrong place or their reasoning wasn't quite as clear as they thought it would be. I don't know. But, you know, when you are, you know, announcing that you are modernizing your brand versus evolving it, you know, refreshing, right? You risk alienating people. You definitely risk offending people.
Yep.
Because I think that's what happened in this situation. Is a lot of people got really pissed off over this one. When a brand, you know, when a company decides to rebrand, okay, I don't know if they can rebrand completely, okay, without alienating their core market. I don't know if it's something that could be done successfully, right? Especially when it comes to something like a logo.
Yeah.
Because that logo symbolizes so much more than just, you know, the top of the pyramid for the brand visually.
Yeah.
Right? People, they really are passionate about their logos. It means so much more. It's like they're looking to that and they're looking to their kids or their history or, you know, their experiences with this brand.
There's tradition with that for sure.
Absolutely.
But you and I both went to the website and we saw that fucking janky logo up in the top left corner.
Absolutely.
Just looked like a P-shaped blob that needs to be fixed.
Agreed. Oh no, and I agree. And this is where I think some of the mistake was. Like, you know, brand evolution, when we talk about it, right? Brands need to evolve with the times, this, that, right?
Yep.
Technically is included with that. Okay. That was not a responsive brand.
No.
You know, that brand mark. And it needed to, I saw so many more online variations. Okay. So many other variations.
Yours. When we were talking in your office,
just even that.
You're just literally
I was like,
cut
just
it,
do this.
put the guy over top leaning on the K.
That's it.
It worked.
A million times better, right? Literally.
He's still there. You've got all the story, you got all the history. Yeah, you don't have the barrel, but I don't think.
But again, the barrel's the background kind of, you know, it kept it. You could still use the barrel of the shape of the background as the barrel story.
It's in the name.
Yes.
I think if Uncle Herschel was in there somewhere,
right?
You wouldn't have this.
And literally, all I didn't even create a responsive thing. I cut him out. I leaned him against the letter K.
And it was much better than what we have here.
Right? Because it was still paying homage to the history, the story, the legacy.
Story was still there.
Yes. And then going online, you see people then evolving it even further.
Yes,
they're doing it. They're making
stuff.
it responsive, vertical, horizontal. They kept Herschel. It's just like there's so much more that could have been done that I feel wasn't done, and I don't feel that they explored it properly. I mean, again, I'm not 100% sure what their intention was and why they went so simple on this one. But the reality is, brands aren't built on logos. They're built on memories.
Yes.
They're built on feelings, rituals. And there was so many crazy rituals in this place. Not only just breakfast, but they had like pegboards in there. They had crackers on the fucking tables, rocking chairs. People on road trips would like literally road trip from one Cracker Barrel to another cracker. Like this is a lifetime of memories. So this is why people got pissed off. And then when it comes to the interior, was a complete Americana vibe. And that's what people loved. Yeah, maybe it looked like it was grandma's kitchen or whatever.
Right.
But you can't just erase people's memories. And that's why people got so viral about this, why they went so feral about the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so much emotional capital built into a brand, especially one as long as this, that for them to just completely erase the visual, the person behind it, the warmth, the one that everybody associates with, that was suicide on their parts.
Big time. This is the kind of thing where, I don't know, if I were Cracker Barrel, I wouldn't have waited 40, 50, 60 years to update my logo.
Fair enough.
Right? You do it in incremental steps. Like you say, the brand evolution. Not a fucking
overhaul.
Not an overhaul.
I don't think any legacy brands like this could handle an overhaul. I don't know a single legacy brand.
It's impossible
not to do an overnight like this. I'm not saying you can't change. If you want to change. That's fine. But do it in increments. Just evolve with the times, right?
Yes.
And again, imagine if you were to, wake up as a 5-year-old and then go back to sleep and wake up as a 50-year-old. That'd be pretty shocking.
Yes, exactly.
Right? But no, you
missed a lot.
But what these guys did is that's exactly what they did. They didn't try to start reducing him. They didn't try using him in the corner or this. They cut him out.
Yeah.
And by doing that, they completely alienated their loyal client base. They're like, everybody was like, don't you remember me? I'm the person who's returning on a regular basis and who makes up 90% of the profits you make in this company, right? Like, why are you alienating me? Like, and the crazy thing is, don't fucking brands like this learn? Like this isn't even the first time this year we've talked about massive brand failures, right?
Yes.
And again, and it's not even about their reasoning other than them alienating their core demographic.
Right.
Like this year we saw Bud Light alienating their core demographic, right? Not saying what they did was right or wrong in any way, but they did, alienate their core demographic and look at the response there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then again, so they alienated the loyalists that were behind their brand, right? Jaguar, okay? They're a fucking car company, and granted, it's not the best car, but the reality is the people who wanted, they were purists, and by them doing their overhaul, they lost the purity of the cat. They lost the purity of the Jaguar, and they turned into something else that again, the loyalists, they were like, what the hell is it? This isn't what we wanted, right?
Yeah.
And then Cracker Barrel, again, did the same thing by stripping away the tradition of their logo, which again is baffling on how they would do this, right? Honestly, loyalists don't forgive abandonment, right? And that's the worry in a situation like this. It seems like Bud Light has bounced back. Okay. It seems like they just doubled up on what they did before.
Right.
And it's now, past. Jaguar, I don't know if they're going to have not so much. I don't know. Like, but the thing is, it's like you can't modernize grandma's, kitchen table, right? And that's the problem, right? That's where all the magic happens when grandma comes and gives you that, that experience, that love, that apple pie, the cookies, right? This is what you want.
Right.
Needless to say, alienating, your core demographic, regardless what the reasons are, alienating them in the snap is the wrong way to approach any, brand overhaul, let alone a logo overhaul, There are right times to do this. And there are wrong times to introduce a new logo, okay? And I'm not saying rebrand, because in all fairness, there have been some incredible, successful rebrands in history, okay? But there's more to a brand than just the logo.
That's true. That's
and again,
true.
because it takes so much more to do this, okay?
Yeah.
So we got a list here of 10 worst times to replace an aging logo, okay? Replace an aging logo.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
All right, designers, let's cut the bull. How many times have you had a killer website design only to watch it fall apart because of code or developer telling you no, no, no? Or maybe you've held back from web design altogether thinking it's just too complicated and too technical or totally out of your wheelhouse. Either way, it's time for a change. Wix Studio is designed for designers, removing the barriers that limits your designs. Whether you're tired of developers watering down your ideas or too intimidated by the technical side of web, Wix Studio puts the creative power back in your hands. No code required. With a drag and drop interface that feels designer intuitive, plus no code animations and even AI powered tools, you can create fully custom websites that match your vision, every pixel, every detail. And if you're worried about the learning curve, don't be. Wix Studio is designed to feel as intuitive as your favorite design tools. Some designers here even say more so. That means you can jump right in and focus on what you do best, designing badass, brand-aligned websites that'll take your business to the next level. So whether you've had enough of developers holding you back or you're ready to finally step into web design, check out wixstudio.com and take control. That's wixstudio.com. Go and take back web design for graphic designers.
Okay, replace an aging logo.
Okay.
Because in the
This
past,
is good.
we've given advice how to recognize and make recommendations, but
When it's time, yeah.
This is the other side.
Yeah, yeah.
These are the worst times because they're literally living through this right now, right?
Right.
So, number one, the worst time to replace an aging logo, when your whole fucking logo is the brand. Okay, because by erasing Herschel, they erased, the symbol, the very symbol that everybody identified with this brand with. Right? Just no brainer.
Yeah.
Okay. When tradition outweighs the trends. Okay, the trends. Again, audiences, they don't necessarily want sleek, soulless logos. They like the comfort of familiarity, which is why for so long, it's probably why this logo has lasted as long as it has. Because let's face it, it's a pretty old and bad logo on its own.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know. I'm like this. It really needs to be redone.
it does need to be redone. But I don't think that the new is the answer.
They did it. They did it absolutely wrong. And
Yeah.
we'll discuss
Yeah,
better
absolutely,
versions coming up.
absolutely.
But yeah, it needed to be done. But not the way they did it.
Not the way they did
Yes.
it. Another reason is when the company's stability is at risk. Okay. So again, when Lego went through this, okay, they almost went bankrupt.
Right.
They didn't just change the Lego logo because they're smart enough to realize the logo's not the fucking
Something
problem.
else going on.
Thank
Exactly.
you. Right. So again, when companies do something like this and they're like, hey, here's a brand new flashy logo.
Look.
It's kind of like a beacon that's trying to distract people from deeper rooted issues, often operational issues, financial, poor plan, whatever.
Yep.
That's kind of what this felt like. Okay. Although they were maybe overcautious. Okay. They weren't fixing the core problem. And the core problem at that time wasn't necessarily the identity of the brand because, again, they were able to make the same amount of money year after year.
Yeah.
It was their operations that were falling. Okay. So by them going down this road, investing this absurd amount of money into a rebrand, there's probably better ways to have done this.
Yep.
Needless to say, their stock dropped like the value $100 million it dropped, which is incredible. Okay.
But it's since kind of bounced back a little bit now.
I think it has. I think it
Since
actually went worse than
they've
100 million.
switched, and then now it's starting to climb back up.
when they
When they
went
said we're going back
isn't
to our,
that fucked?
I know.
You want to put a value on a
crazy.
logo? There you go.
Yeah.
There's an actual value
literally.
on a logo. Holy cow.
Yes, it can make or break your fucking company.
All right, another reason, and this one's a no-brainer. When the culture behind the logo is hypersensitive. Seriously.
Oh, boy.
We've seen this so many times. Nothing outrageous. You're like, that's nuts. And that's what happened here.
Yes.
That's what happened with all these other brands. So I got another one here that I thought was really great. Personally, when you don't have a stronger story than the old story.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
There are some old stories that maybe people might want to bury. Fine. Okay. But if your new, story doesn't match up, it's just like, hey, we want a new demographic.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. You need to tread cautiously on replacing the logo altogether, the beacon of your brand in that sense. All right.
Yeah.
No brainer, but don't change an aging logo when nobody's asked for it. Okay. Again, this is where there's probably a better way to go about this. They could have made this a lot more responsive.
Right.
Nobody was asking for a new logo. Nobody was looking for a modernization of the brand.
This is true.
So uninvited change kind of feels like betrayal. It doesn't actually feel like progress in a situation like this.
Fair enough.
When the rollout itself lacks any sort of conviction or context.
Yes.
Kind of goes along with that, right? And I think that's what happened here. When the weak messaging behind why they did it, follows, it makes kind of the moves you made kind of clueless. It makes people like us and like the internet going, why the hell did you do this?
Yes.
Obviously, we've said this so much, but when the loyalists or the audience gets alienated, okay, absolutely, do not change the logo. If you're going to get rid of half your market, 2/3 of your market, right? You can't alienate your core market.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Banking on getting a new, younger market.
Do
Do you know what I'm saying?
Banking.
You are trying to appeal to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's not the way to do it.
Not the way to do this. When you confuse outdated with iconic.
Oh.
Okay. And
See, I never
that's
thought of that.
Yeah. And that's why it's like, he doesn't bother me nearly as much as he bothers you. And that's fine. Okay. But, what looks old to some people might look timeless to others. So by completely overhauling it, changing, I'm sure if they were to make him a freaking 3D character looking like he's from Pixar, I don't think that would have gone over well either. Right?
I think that would be cool. Wow.
That's kind of funny.
Well, it's like the KFC ads. I don't know whether anybody watches TV anymore, but they have ads where they have different comedians playing the Colonel.
That's kind of fun.
Even women.
That's a campaign, though. That's not
That-
necessarily
yeah,
the logo,
I
right?
guess that's you're
I think
right.
you have a
That's
little bit more
true.
flexibility there,
with
right?
that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
you could do something like that.
Well, you can definitely,
And-
right?
and-
Or introduce it or take him and put him in all these different scenarios. Absolutely. There's an option there.
Yes.
Okay. But again, what some people deem is like old and outdated, other people are like timeless. It's iconic.
Yeah.
It's our leader, for
Yeah.
God's sake,
Yeah.
right? When
Yeah.
we come here.
Fair
So I think that's another one. And again, and I think the big one is when the leadership behind this brand overhaul can't really articulate why they're doing this beyond the words modernization. Okay, because again, if you can't sell the vision, okay, how do you expect people to be okay with this change? Right. So I do think that, obviously we've said when there's times to change a logo, but I think these are legitimate reasons or worse times to replace an aging logo. Not saying that this one should have been replaced, because God knows it should have.
yes.
Okay, and I got some strong opinions on how this should have played out.
yes.
Right? And I mean, there's no... So, first and foremost,
Right.
never replace Uncle Herschel. Even a name like Uncle Herschel sounds fucking... Everybody wants an Uncle Herschel. You don't fucking replace him. KFC kept the Colonel.
There you go.
Wendy's kept Wendy.
Right.
Why wouldn't a brand as
Yes.
long, as deep-rooted as this... Uncle Herschel, I don't think he did anything bad in history that he's being, hit on reflected right now. Poor guy. They should have evolved him, right? They should have symbolized, they could have taken Uncle Herschel, okay, and took him to the next level where it's like, you know, where tradition meets the future, you know, and maybe had, you know, kind of played up on, you know, how he can be your uncle too, and how this is your family's place. No, it was easier for them to try to nix him. Which
just
I thought
to get
was
rid of him
just to
altogether.
get rid of him
Yeah,
altogether. But
exactly.
again, it's such a core figure of this brand. They should have evolved him. They had to keep him in the. I thought that was ridiculous.
See, like we talked about before, with a nice headshot or something like that, like the Colonel, how he's done all stylized and beautiful. You know who he is. You know what's going on. That's perfect. You've kept your history intact because everybody knows who the hell that is. Yes, and that would be the better way to do this.
That would have been, right?
Yes.
Because again, let's put it this way.
there.
Companies spend billions of dollars evolving their mascot, okay? Having a company mascot is so incredible for the brands that have jumped on it early and who own it. So why would they kill this guy?
I don't know.
Horrible mistake. So again, I would have kept him and I would have evolved that guy, okay? I would have made Uncle Herschel everybody's
You would have cleaned him up from this garbage.
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely. Just like, hey, the Colonel is pretty cleaned up right now.
But what it used to look like, he was very detailed back in the 70s.
He
looked like that.
Exactly. Right? I would have reframed the story. Okay? You know, I get it. If they want to be, you know, they want to go on about like, hey, we want to attract a new, younger audience, and that's why we're doing all this. But you know what? Their whole news story didn't bring back any of the nostalgia that people grew up with. This was an opportunity where, you know, the new brand could have embraced it and been like, you know, you've been coming to us as a child for the past 40 years. Now you can bring your children here. You know, we can evolve. We can evolve together. Let's face it, Cracker Barrel is never going to be a fucking nightclub. They're never going to be slinging drinks and having girls dancing on the bars. This is just not the brand.
Now.
But I mean, again, they could have reframed the story to embrace the nostalgia behind the brand instead of try to nix it. Like they were trying to hide from something. So again, I would have gone down that approach, right? No brainer. I would have done a phased approach.
A phased approach. There you go.
Right? Like they were testing 40 to 60, you know, locations that they overhauled. Okay? They were testing it before this whole thing went public. They were testing these. So this is where some of the money went.
Before the logo came out.
Crazy enough, there was less than a 1% uptick in business in those 40 to 60 stores that they did. It was like nothing. It could have been anything. It could have been the wind blowing in the wrong direction and people getting down whiffed of the smell of the place. Like it was so clearly there was things that they need to work out at that level before they tried to overhaul and well shit, that's not working. So let's just introduce a new logo and fuck every location over. Like, again, no brainer here. A phased rollout would have been, and again, if they were curious, bring in a focus, spend $1 million on a focus group. Shit,
apparently they got enough to go
around. $700 million to play with. So again, there was so much more in how they could have done this. I think, you know, and again, the funny thing is they were getting frustrated about their 1% because again, they were comparing themselves to other brands like, you know, Chili's, where I guess Chili's was seeing 3-4% up. You're like, no, don't worry about that. You have other shit to figure out. So use a phased approach. Okay. Don't just jump in like you did. Right. And again, most importantly, you know, evolve the brand. Okay. I get that they felt like they had to do something quick. Not sure why.
I don't know.
Because the numbers showed that it was operational issues.
It was fine. Like they have 2-3 years of runway. Over that.
So many opportunities here that they could have done.
Versus
what they've done is now they've tainted the experience.
Oh, now they're fucked.
And now it's like, are people going to accept whatever now comes down the pipeline? Because sad to say that, you know, there's been some words that were slung, there's been some fake media, fake news, fake words. I don't even know anymore what to believe. And I don't know, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't even really pay it. Like, I mean, so much shit has been talked that I think they're stuck now for a little while.
I think they are.
And
for a little while?
Maybe for a long while.
I think this is a long while.
Like, I don't necessarily think it's a death sentence. Okay, I think if they could come back and spin it like, look, you know what, you know, we made a mistake about Uncle Herschel. We didn't realize how much people, you know, and put a good story around it, and then include him in another, because let's face it, I like the word mark. I thought the word mark worked. Okay.
Yeah.
And I felt the word mark was a nice brand evolution from the old.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
now reintroduce our buddy Herschel. Okay. Get that thing responsive. Fix the fucking website, because you're right. You can't see the old logo, right?
That was bad.
You know, I think there is a chance to recover from this, but I don't think it's going to be easy because this was so negative. I've never seen anything like this ever.
I know, it's absolutely crazy, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think they obviously they realize they have to keep the soul.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
of what they had. And I mean, and this is one case where blanding really didn't pay off. It
work.
went the other way,
And
right?
I guess the kind of takeaway that I have from this is I didn't realize just how important this brand was to people. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, right?
It's insane.
Yeah, because
how
it's just
crazy
kind of one
this
of those
went.
things where I thought, it's just a restaurant. There's so many restaurants in the U.S. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I was like, hey, well, it's okay. It's just like Bob Evans, is it?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
I got my ass smacked for saying it was just like Bob
oh,
Evans.
did you?
Didn't know. And again, it's not a thing, right?
But Bob Evans has the same kind of idea and the story behind it.
absolutely.
But it's a little more modern.
It is, and I think
Yeah.
that they've kept up with the times where I do feel that maybe Cracker Barrel could have done a better job keeping up along the way.
I think that has been the big, that's been the big problem.
And that's the issue. But I mean, I think the lesson here, is, a logo is not disposable.
No.
Right? It is the beacon of a brand.
Yeah, there is some weight to it.
There is, and a brand is more than just a logo. Okay, and that's the big differentiator. A brand has got history, memories. Brands are personal.
Yeah.
My experience with Cracker Barrel is different than your experience.
Right.
I fucking thought it was cheese, and you actually went to the store.
It was actually a restaurant. Yeah,
But it's true, right? So it's it's about the things that matter most with the brand. So you have to tread lightly, and the easiest, the best, the most straightforward way of doing this is doing it in a phased evolution approach. Don't overhaul it. Don't break it, because modernization is not necessarily progress.
No,
and it's not gonna help you out of any sort of financial situation in a situation.
That's
like this,
true. Yeah.
Right. Obviously,
Absolutely.
clearly, right.
Yeah. Yeah. It could do way worse damage.
Seriously. I wrote something down and I think I want to leave this at, instead of asking, okay, how do we refresh our look? How do we refresh our brand? Okay. How do we refresh? The real question that brands should be asking is, what do our customers stand to lose if we refresh our brand?
Interesting.
If we refresh our logo, okay? Right. And again, all the flops that we saw this year
was to gain.
Right. Well, and they weren't looking at the end user.
Right.
At
The
their
core
customer,
base.
their core demographic.
Yeah.
So what do they have to lose?
Right.
And in this situation, clearly showed that Uncle Herschel, man, there was a lot. He obviously resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's if people fought for him and they didn't want to lose that part of this brand. So again, mind blowing from an outsider looking in. And I wasn't trying to disrespect by any means. And I hope we didn't disrespect. But again, I think this is just yet another lesson that it's like blanding doesn't help, and you guys, you can't fuck around with your brand. Damn.
It's very, very important.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Wow. Or if you're going to fuck up your brand, do it in an evolutionary kind of way, right? Over the course of time, so people really subtleties they don't
Good
know.
point. Do it in a slow, steady pace that people they don't realize that you messed up the brand.
Is that
right?
different? Is there less detail in Uncle Herschel?
I thought that there used to be.
No, it's the food. Yeah, I'm hungry. I don't care.
Oh, dudes. Listen,
Wow.
I'd love to hear from everybody else on this one, and again, we're looking from the outside in. And again, I thought this was intriguing.
Yeah.
I thought this was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a design fail.
Nope.
I think this was a brand fail.
It was a brand
in my
fail,
opinion.
for sure. 110%.
Yeah, and that's why I'd love to hear what else there was to say. But yeah, let's get into it. You know where to hit us up. We're on Instagram. Great conversations happen. We're on YouTube. Great conversations to happen. And you can hit us up directly on our website. And again, don't forget about our newsletter, because a lot more of this, except in a different format with a lot more stuff that, a lot more fun surprises.
Yes.
All right.
Woohoo!
My name is Massimo.
My name is Sean.
Stay creative.
Stay angry.